Cognitive dissonance is something that affects all people at various times in our life, and when it happens, it makes a big impact. You feel it physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And this can come up a lot of the time, especially when we're spending time with our family. And so around holiday periods and things, it can be a time where this cognitive dissonance really causes us some challenges. For those of you who have no idea, cognitive means to do with your cognition, to do with your brain, and dissonance means to be out of harmony. So this is really when you have two or more contradicting thoughts, beliefs, values, and your brain can't process these two contradicting things at the same time. So you have to try and get to a place where you can survive. So for example, let's say you have a relationship with somebody and you love them and they love you. Maybe it's a family member. But when you're with that person, they are abusive to you. It could be physically, it could be mentally, emotionally, verbally. And that doesn't make you feel good. You see, now you have a conflict because you really love this person, but you don't actually like the way that this person behaves. And so you're in this place of cognitive dissonance, and you have to then find a way to live with this. And the way that people do this is that you have a few options. So firstly, they need to accept either the behavior of the person and say, actually, it's okay for that person to be rude to me because they are my mum. It's okay for that person to be rude to me because they've known me for a long time. It's okay for that person to hit me because they are my brother. Might be some examples of how you might make the behavior acceptable. The other thing that we might do is we might accept the behavior and then rationalize somehow why we stay in that relationship, or why it's okay for them. For example, oh, they were just really drunk, they didn't know what they were doing, they are really stressed at the moment. And so we give them a pass. We say, look, I can still love you and your behavior because of this external factor. Or the third option that we can do to get ourselves out of this cognitive dissonance is we have to change. We have to either end the relationship, we have to challenge the person and say, I will not be treated like that, and I love you, but I do not accept this behavior, and if you want to be in my life, something has to change. And I know when we're spending time with family around holidays and things like that, this can come up a lot. Because I've been there and I've seen it. We let our family members treat us in a way that we would never let other people do it. This creates this feeling of real dis-ease, dissonance, lack of harmony. There's no harmony there. And a lot of people don't like spending time with their family for that reason, and other reasons. But how else does cognitive dissonance show up? This is a big thing for me, and I just made a post on my social media channels, you can go see it, about hypocrisy. And it's this incredible picture of this woman stuffing a turkey at Christmas. And so she has her hand, her fist, inside the anus of this turkey, and which is a bird, right? It was a beautiful living creature, and she has a fist inside it. And then her cat walks in with a bird in its mouth, and this woman says, that's disgusting, get that dead animal out of here, while she has her fist inside a dead animal, right? And this is dissonance, cognitive dissonance, because her beliefs are that you shouldn't bring dead animals into the house, and at the same time she's got a dead animal and she's actually got her fist inside that animal right now, and she's mutilating a dead animal's carcass, while her cat is just doing exactly the same thing, but she makes it different because she justifies it she makes a rationalization that it's okay for me to do this because I'm going to eat it, but isn't that what the cat's doing? And so this is another way that cognitive dissonance, it just came to me, and I felt inspired to make this this video, because as a lot of you know, I'm very passionate about being in my truth and living in alignment. And this is one of the things I've really been working on. When I was younger, I used to lie so much, and integrity is something that is really important to me, but I wasn't living in integrity. And I'm not saying I'm perfect right now. There's definitely some areas I'm still working on, but I'm so much better than I used to be. And this is a process of me saying, okay, this is my values, my beliefs. These are my actions. How can we line them up? And so a lot of people say they love animals. I really love animals, and I ask them, because I do animal rights activism. I go out on the streets and I talk to people, and we show footage, and we do loads of stuff to just raise awareness. And I'll say, do you love animals? And I say, yeah, I really love animals. I have a pet, just like my best friend. And then I say, do you think it's okay to harm animals? And they say, no, of course not. And I say, well, what about killing a cow, or killing a chicken, or killing a pig? And they say, oh yeah, that's fine, because, and they rationalize it, because we're going to eat them. But in other countries, they raise dogs to eat and kill. And you ask them, is it okay to kill a dog and eat it? They say no. But in other countries, cows are sacred and you can't kill cows to eat. And you see, it has this hypocrisy and this cognitive dissonance, because they believe that we should look after all animals, but at the same time they're going home, or they're going to the store, and they're paying someone to kill an animal. And so inside their brain, every time they eat an animal, it's causing this dissonance, and it just, over time, this builds up into all sorts of dis-ease. Let me know if this is making any sense, by the way. I'd love to know your comments. Let me know if you've experienced this around your family. Let me know if you've experienced this around some of your core beliefs. I was just speaking with somebody today. I just announced on all my social medias that me and my wife are pregnant. So we are 13 weeks pregnant, which is super exciting, and I am so looking forward to being a dad. And this now raises a whole host of things about making us really challenge our beliefs and come into alignment, find harmony in our beliefs, which is hard enough to do when it's just your own beliefs, right? And when it's now somebody else's beliefs, that's a whole different thing. And when you come to a big family meal and everyone has different beliefs and you're trying to find harmony within that, it can be a real stretch. So this is just something to watch out for and just be aware of. Awareness can change things really fast. And so one of the things that is commonly accepted in a lot of cultures around babies, I was just talking with somebody about this, which is why it's fresh in my brain, is around circumcision. And it's commonly accepted in most cultures, many religions, that when a baby is born, we chop off a part of its body. We cut off its foreskin, which is a part of its body. And they've done tests now, and they've measured babies' brains before circumcision, and they can see it's a perfectly healthy brain. And then they measure the baby's brain after circumcision, and it creates trauma in there. It rewires their brain, and their brain is never the same again. And I was explaining this to somebody, and it created a lot of cognitive dissonance. They got really uncomfortable and started justifying it in strange ways. And this is what people do. If you go on YouTube or you look up videos of people from Anonymous for the Voiceless, they go out, they do these cubes of truth. So we go and we just talk to members of the public, and they come up with all sorts of crazy justifications for why it's okay to kill animals, such as our ancestors did it, and it's the natural order of the world, it's the food chain, we are apex predators, we're supposed to kill, humans have a need to kill, all of this nonsense, right? And it's all been proven that we can thrive from a plant-based diet, and we don't need that now. So you notice, as you start to challenge people, as you start to be in your truth, anyone who's that your truth doesn't resonate with, it creates this cognitive dissonance. And so I just explained it very logically, because in Africa at the moment, there are a lot of places where they do genital mutilation to young women when they're born. They chop off their clitoris, they chop off their labia, they mutilate their genitals. They say it makes them more pure. And this is accepted in those places. And you can go online and see these videos of these women who are survivors of this abuse. And there's a really interesting documentary on Netflix called American Circumcision. And it's talking about this. It's talking about how circumcision is just socially accepted genital mutilation. That's what it is. And it goes through all the science of why we used to do it, why people think it's important, and they just go to show that actually what this is doing is this is really traumatizing our children. But when you challenge someone whose belief systems and culture and religion has told them that this is what God has said to do, with science, even with the most incredible science, pure logic, you show them babies' brainwaves, it's still very difficult for someone to accept a new belief system because they realize that their behavior and their viewpoint is not in alignment. Does this make sense? So, when you're with your family, when you're sharing your truth, because if you're watching this to now, you're a truth seeker, you're probably on the leading edge of consciousness like me, you're probably the black sheep of the family as they call it, but I like to say the rainbow sheep. and so you probably are quite out there. Your family probably think you're a weirdo. Let me know below if you are the black sheep, rainbow sheep, unicorn, whatever you want to call yourself of the family. And we're here to challenge the system. There's so many fundamentally flawed systems in our society, and we're here to just change them, but that's going to give people cognitive dissonance. And so we have to be patient with them, and we have to give people time to process this. And I was speaking with an amazing friend, and he's really wise, and he shared this example with me. He said people can only hold as much light as they're able to in that moment. Imagine that a person is like a light bulb that can hold 60 watts of power. You send 60 watts into the light bulb, it shines really bright, it's perfect. If you send 1,000 watts into that light bulb, what happens to it? It explodes, right? And this is what can happen. I've seen it. So many people, when especially they take on a new belief system, they're so excited about it, they go and they just overwhelm people. It's like 1,000 watts, and we just blow their minds, and they just have to run away because it's completely earth-shattering to them. They just cannot physically take it in. And so my advice when you're sharing these things is just to understand it takes time for people to have this change, and they're either going to have to accept the behavior and then rationalize why they keep doing that thing, or they'll have to change something. But you have to give them time to find that equilibrium, to come back into harmony. When you go all out and challenge someone so much, most of the time they'll just retreat. And this is one of the beautiful things about the Anonymous for the Voiceless movement. What we do there is you create this cube of truth. So you get together and you stand in a cube, and you have your laptops or your tablets, and you're showing footage of what happens behind the scenes in farms and in slaughterhouses. And you show it there, but you don't speak. You just allow people to come up to you if they're interested. Now, this is very different to forcing it on someone. You're just allowing them to come and have a look if they're interested. And then very slowly, very gently, you ease them in. You ease them in. You ask them questions so they come to their own conclusion. Rather than saying to your family member, eating animals is wrong, it is murder, and you shouldn't do it. Well, straight away you've challenged their existence, and so now they're going to start to justify themselves and they're rationalizing things. But if you start to ask them questions, it's like, hey, I noticed you really love animals. Like, have you always loved animals? And they'd be like, yeah, of course I have. Animals are amazing. I had a dog when I was a kid and it's really beautiful. And say, do you think it's okay or how would you feel about someone hurting animals like your dog? What would you do if someone tried hurting your dog? And very slowly you start to bring them along. Okay, so I know you're a very conscious person and you're a very kind person. Why do you think it's accepted in our society to torture and rape all of these animals? Now it might be they don't even know that this is happening, but if you allow them to come to their own decision instead of forcing your opinion on them, people will come along much more easily. So those of you who are watching this, I'm just going to wrap up now. Make sure to be in your truth. Stand up for what you believe in. That is how we make change. The whole world is changing. The whole world is waking up. And when you are in your truth, you can empower people. This video probably has given you cognitive dissonance. There's been some challenging things came through in this transmission. And just know, with time, people will make their own decisions. We can't force anybody to think anything. And it's actually those decisions that they come to of their own accord, they're the ones that they stick to, because then they have real reasons for it. They have a very strong why. So we learn patience and kindness and tolerance and acceptance, whilst at the same time holding our boundaries, standing up for what we believe in. And just like if you walk down the street and you saw someone hitting a dog with a baseball bat, what would you do? So then if you walked down the street and you saw someone hitting a cow with a baseball bat, what would you do? You see, most people believe that it's not right to hurt another being. But that's for them to make their own mind up. All we can do is we can ask questions, we can give information, and we can be an example. So be a beautiful example. You are doing amazing. Sending you all so much love. I hope you are having the best time, the best life. Sending you loads and loads of love. And next time you're with your family, just watch out for this cognitive dissonance, especially over the holiday times. It's very interesting. Be present. Detach yourself from the emotion. Understand that not everybody's going to agree with you. And then you decide how you're going to show up. Maybe you don't go to the dinner if they're going to eat meat. Maybe you won't go and see that person who abuses you. Maybe you just need to have a very strong conversation with them about what you will and won't accept. Or maybe you'll say, it's okay, I love this person enough to accept that behavior. Whatever you decide is right. Sending you infinite amounts of love and compassion on your journey. Thank you so much. And if you know anybody who you think needs to hear this, please do tag them, comment, like, share. And let's change the world one mind at a time. Thank you.